We are doing a deep dive into NetDocs Pattern Builder. So we're going to describe what Pattern Builder is, and I'm going to go over it a little bit. I wish I hadn't put the word deep in there. We're going to do a dive into Pattern Builder. I don't know how deep we'll get, and I'll explain that through the presentation today. Just a couple of other things I always like to do on these webinars is go over what's new with NetDocs, what kind of events is optimal my company having in the future, and NetDocs tips and tricks. So let me just jump over here. NetDocs announcements. Now, this is just Googled NetDocs. This is the NetDocs support page, okay? Under announcements, I highly recommend you come over here and hit follow so you know when new stuff with NetDocs is coming out. Two things that I noticed here, and this came yesterday, Microsoft 365 Outlook 2.1 add-in is available February 6th. So this is the add-in that you're going to use with the new Outlook Web Access, and NetDocs on a smartphone for right now. Eventually, things like ND Mail and ND Save will go away from Outlook, and it will be replaced with this. So if we just come over here on the release notes real quick, just so you're aware, this is going to be forced to you in the future. So there's just some enhancements here on the browsing and stuff like that. This is pretty good. We have it at Optimal, and we're using it and testing it out. So just in case you don't know, and this is covered in the Optimal, the NetDocs tips, at a certain point, we're going to have to go to a new Outlook. No one knows when that is, and we'll be using this Outlook, the new Outlook.com add-in. Other thing just to point out here, so again, I would file this page. I would also come over to 2024 web refreshes and file this as well. This is everything that will change in NetDocs in 2024. And, if you've been around us for a while, at the end of the year, we will do a webinar on all these changes, going over all of them. But if you just want to get a little ahead of the game, so when you come into the office and NetDocs has been updated, this is the great page to go to. 2024 web refreshes, NetDocuments. If you Google that, this page will come up, and you should follow it. You will need to sign in, and this will be logging into the NetDocs support page, not your NetDocs email address and password. It's the NetDocs support page. Anyone can create this and hit follow so you know when those updates are coming out. Anything significant, I try to email everyone because we check this all the time, but it's good for you just to know that as well. Coming over here to our page, optimal.com events, we're doing the Pattern Builder webinar right now. In 2 weeks, I'm going to do a webinar, which I did last year, about legal software, just what we're seeing the industry, what's out there. How would I build a law office from scratch if I had to? Then the NetDocs office hours, we do at least one of these a month. I sit here on the Zoom, I go over like one tip or trick in NetDocs, and then I just let people ask me questions about NetDocs. The first one of the year was great. We had so many good questions. I think we almost went the whole hour too with questions. You got new users and they have questions, throw them on here. It doesn't cost anything to jump on there. I'll be doing a shortened NetDocs Windows training, a 1-hour Windows training. Now this is with canned data, okay? So it's not your firm's data, it's canned data, but I'm going to do a 1 hour. I already have the 2-hour one as a video. So I'm going to do this as 1 hour for those attorneys that really can't spend the time actually, going over the full thing. The next webinar, Document Management Software Made Easy, you all can skip. If you're using NetDocs, this is just a why do people use document management software. And then April 3rd, this is where I want to get to, and we'll go over there, is going over Pattern Builder Max. which is a different product than PatternBuilder, which we're going to be talking about today. So we'll be going over that in April 3rd. Last thing on the blog, NetDocs tips. Just want to let people know about this page. We've got some new articles about purging documents out of NetDocs. So you have a recycle bin in NetDocs, how to purge documents out. Some new features coming out with NetDocs. Using NetDocs with the new Outlook, we go over, and that's what that integration we're talking about. This is the Outlook that at some point we'll be forced to use and how that new integration will look. All right, so let's now come back here and we'll jump on to the actual topic, PatternBuilder. So this webinar, I feel like this is the first time I'm doing this webinar. I'm more uncomfortable about this webinar, and I do a webinar a week, than any other webinar I've done in the past couple of years, because PatternBuilder is new to all of us. Now, someone just raised their hand. Is there a question they want to put in the chat or not, or they want to just wait? I think that's the best thing to do, is go into the Q&A and just ask the question when you see it. Use the Q&A or the webinar chat to ask questions. So 2021, November, NetDocs bought a piece of software called AfterPattern, okay? This is not really new to NetDocs. If you're using ND Mail, which we all pretty much, if we're NetDocs users using ND Mail, NetDocs purchased that company. It was called Decisive Email, and then slowly incorporated it into NetDocuments. So NetDocs purchased AfterPattern in November 2021. And then, let's just come over here. August 2022, I remember I was there at ILTA in Washington Harbor in DC. They integrated this product, which I haven't talked about what it does yet, into NetDocuments. So you use it natively in NetDocuments, and we'll go over that as well. And then this past October, NetDocs released PatternBuilder Max. That's the webinar we're doing in April. We're not doing that webinar today. And that's really, to throw around some buzzwords here, AI. That's the AI component of PatternBuilder. Now, what is PatternBuilder? And this was always kind of something that I felt like was hard to get an answer. So I'm going to answer it for you on what I think it is. And I think most people will agree with me with what I'm about to say here. But it is a document generation software. So it's the ability to create documents in NetDocs, to create intake forms, answer sheets. You fill out those answer sheets, and we'll go over that today. I'll show you how we're using it, and then to generate documents. So HotDocs was a program, and I'm going to actually show you a HotDocs form that I have here, was a program that we used all the time. We used to code documents for clients, mainly estate planning clients that had wills, trusts, all of those things. They would want to create those, so they were creating them over and over again. They wanted to create an intake form so that they could go over there. By the way, question here, we record everything in Optimal. We record every training, every webinar. So if you signed up for the webinar or one of your colleagues did, everyone will get an email tomorrow with the webinar, with this recording in there. So that is going out to everyone. And again, if you have any other questions, feel free to start asking them. So HotDocs is what we were familiar with doing, and I think some of you have used programs like that. Express Docs is what we moved to. HotDocs got purchased by a company. LexisNexis used to own it, and when I was a certified HotDocs consultant, that's where I got my certification from. They sold it to a company called Abacus, which is now Carrot, and I'm just not a huge fan. So I haven't. And plus, you know, our company is strictly doing document management conversions, World Docs to NetDocs right now, so really haven't explored that much. We moved over to Express Docs, and that's what we're using to generate our documents at Optimal, and we'll go over that as well. There's another product, not specifically for legal, but I see a lot of people using PandaDoc. And then I'm trying to remember when Clio purchased LawYaw, which is another document generation software out there. So PatternBuilder will cost you extra money if you do not own it. You will purchase that from NetDocs, not from me, okay? If you're interested in it, let me know, and I can get a demo or something like that set up for you. I can get you in touch with a sales rep. But if just everyone to be clear here, PatternBuilder is not free. If your firm has not purchased it yet, then you don't have it, and you will have to purchase it. This is not supposed to be a sales call. I'm just giving you the facts. And this will be the same thing when we do the webinar on PatternBuilder Max. That is also an additional cost. And I don't know the cost. That's between you and NetDocs, and they will give you that information. So these are the four big competitors that I think I see in the market. You also have companies like Action Step, and you have companies like Centerbase that are also building document generation in there as well. For the people that are raising their hands here, can you just ask the question in the chat? And I'll open it up at the end of the webinar. We're not going to go the full hour here. If you can ask the question in the chat or the Q&A, and then I'll open it up. If you raise your hand at the end, I'll unmute you and allow you to ask the question. So I want to go over and just show you a couple of things. The first thing I thought would be useful to see is what these documents look like. Because I think the big question that you have, if you purchase PatternBuilder, are you going to be able to actually code the documents, or do you have to hire a consultant to do it for you? And honestly, I've seen it work both ways, okay? Now, I'm going to start with a Hot Docs document. We'll go over an Express Docs, and then we'll go over PatternBuilder. And the only reason I'm doing this is I find that the PatternBuilder coding is a lot easier. So, good question that I think is relevant. Is NetDocs compatible with PatternBuilder's competitors? Absolutely. So if you don't go with PatternBuilder, but you want document generation, we were using Hot Docs with NetDocs. So you run the program, it does the intake, and then it creates the document. Well, then you just save the document in a NetDocs. Same thing for PatternBuilder. LawYaw, which is owned by Clio, I'm assuming it's the same thing. Once the document's generated and you have it in Word or you have a PDF, then you can save that into NetDocuments. But let me open up. This is actually our template, our optimal proposal that I originally coded this in. And if you're a client of ours, you've gotten a proposal like this. This was coded in Hot Docs. So you're seeing here a proposal for, and then there will be an interview where we fill out the person's name, the company name, and then it calculates today's date. Now, expiration date, the cool thing here, which you can definitely do in PatternBuilder, is the expiration date on my proposals is 30 days after the original proposal. So that is a calculation. But, and this is a Hot Docs form that I created, you can see here, these are all variables that we are programming them into a document. And then if we come down here, I just want to come over here, we have the ability to do conditional statements and true and false statements. Like, are you converting documents? If so, enter in this right here. If not, don't enter it in there. And the one thing I will say, and I think this is important right now, if you are thinking about using document generation at your law firm, the person that does this has to understand Word and Word styles, because that's really half of the whole thing right there is basically I need the numbering in Word to work correctly. So if I remove this, I can't have a gap in numbers. That's the real thing. If you have someone at your office that's really good with word styles. So I just want to go through here, and then you're just seeing we have the proposal. Once you fill in the intake, then this document gets generated as a Word document. Now, we'll come over here, and I want to show you another one. This is the exact same thing, but this is in Express Docs, which is a competitor of PatternBuilder and Hot Docs, and it's something we used to use before we moved over to PatternBuilder. And you can see here again, we have date formats and things like that, expiration date, and then prefix, so you need to know Mr., Mrs., you could fill in that information and it will generate this for you. Now, realistically, on this proposal, we just had someone in our office. I was like, hey, we figure out this program and create our template, and they were able to do that here. But this is the actual, you can see here, there's a little coding involved here, but this is not PatternBuilder. So let's go over and let's look at this from the PatternBuilder side. I just thought it was neat to kind of see what these documents look like. So if I jump into my NetDocs now, okay, I'm going to go over and let's do this. Let me come over to, I'm just going to click on my prospects cabinet. So for our NetDocs, we have a client cabinet where all of our client related documents exist. If you are not a client, you're not in the client cabinet, you are in the prospects cabinet. You're either going to become a client of ours or not. But what we have to do is create a document, okay? We're going to go through this today. You have to generate a document here. So in the prospects cabinet, I'm going to come over to apps, and I'm going to click on NetDocs proposal full implementation. All right. And this is something that I actually do every day. Okay. So we're just going to go through. Now, this is a question sheet that you create, and you have a lot of control over this. How many pages are there? That sort of thing. What questions are answered on each page? And then the really cool thing here is that you can take the question using NetDocs, deliver a secured link, and you could send it to someone and have them fill it out. Okay? So that's where I've seen a lot of success with this, is building these intake sheets and then sending it to your client, having them fill out this information, and then it generates the document in your NetDocs. So we'll do this here. Company name, the Burns Law Firm. All right, client's first name, we're just going through this. Prefix, this is something that we designed here. Mrs. 1234 Main Street. All right, so that's the first page. This is customizable. You could make this longer, you could make it shorter, choosing the information that you ask. I'm going to hit continue now, and then today's date. Now, we did the cheap route here where we're allowing, and there are reasons for this, to choose an expiration date here, but I also can use logic to just say, hey, make the proposal expiration date 1 month after this. The reason I did it this way is because it's really easy to do, and sometimes I like to make those longer, sometimes I don't. All right. So what are you doing too? We'll do World Docs to NetDocuments. Converting documents, yes. Number of documents. You're going to see all these come in here. We'll put in 1 million. And then I'll just do 2, tab 3, tab 2. Okay, we'll do this. $1,000, deposit 500. And now I'm going to hit continue. All right. And then it's asking some other questions. I'm going to do no, 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 no. All right. And now down here, now that I've answered these questions, I'm going to hit download and download this document onto my computer. I'm doing this for the purpose of this webinar. I also have the ability to tell PatternBuilder, save it to this client or matter in NetDocs, or save it to this folder in NetDocs. So realistically, if we were using this and we were live, I would actually have it saved back into NetDocs without me having to do this here. So let's look at this. I thought about doing like a typical law firm engagement letter, but I want to show you what I use this for, like an actual practical use case, which we're using this every day. All right, so a proposal for the Burns Law Firm, February 7th. There's the expiration date. And then we're putting in the contact information, dear Miss Burns, right there. And then if you go through here, this is all standard stuff. This is more of where the word styles come into place. Because if you're not converting documents, I don't want that clause in there. I want to know how many training sessions people are actually getting. So this is all filled out. And this is, again, most everyone on here is a customer of mine. You got a proposal. This is how we generated the proposal right here. So we'll just go through there after 1,000 documents. And then this goes on and on. So this is how we are using PatternBuilder right now. We even have ways of going in and sending it to DocuSign, like so I could have this shoot out as a DocuSign document, with that link as well. I mean, really, really powerful stuff. So let's just jump in, and I want to go around a couple of things that we have in NetDocs. So first off, we'll come over to where it says top right-hand corner, hi, Craig, and we're going to go into our repository. First thing I want to point out here, information and settings in NetDocs. If I go over to information and we scroll down, you see here PatternBuilder is checked off in my repository. So some of you might be like, do we even have PatternBuilder? I realize that no, in this right here, repository information and settings, under information, it tells you every product, okay, that your firm has purchased. The other way that I know I have PatternBuilder is I'm going to see two things here. Data tables, which are right here, and I'm going to talk about these in a second. And I am also going to see apps. And this is where we can come in and we can program different documents that we want generated. We also, if you notice here, get to choose which cabinet these are available for. Are they workspace based? Are they folder based? You get to choose all of that information. And there's also a Word add-in as well. So this is where we actually program the documents, and then we get to choose which cabinet we get to use this on. So let's come over to the NetDocs full implementation. I'm going to click on it here. All right, here it is over here. And let's go to edit so you can kind of see how this is created. And then this is going to be up to you to determine if this is something you're even interested in. So that's the first thing, if you're going to pay for it. And then who's doing the work. Now, when you get PatternBuilder with NetDocs, they're very good about doing training for you. And I mean, the next time I do this webinar, I'm going to do it with one of my customers. And when we were talking yesterday, they've done like 30 different forms with PatternBuilder, and they're using it all the time. They put someone at a paralegal at their office, an estate planning paralegal, who really knew word styles, and she had no problem going through the training and then just creating everything. So we're going to come here, and the first thing I want to look at is here are the pages. So you get to create pages, multiple pages if you want, and then this shows the variables that you're asking. And you can come over here and you can create new variables, that sort of thing. So for me, usually I want all just the client information on page one, okay? And then page two is all the good like NetDocs information. That's how we broke it out here. And then, you're seeing all this information. We're doing numbers, names, date fields, drop down lists. So if you went far with this, I would always have like a states drop down list that I could use all the time, so you could choose the state, that sort of thing. And then this is really the last page here. You saw all those questions. And then again, I can turn this back on. I have the ability to, hey, save this back into the folder that I'm generating this out of, sort of thing. Or if our prospects cabinet is a folder-based cabinet, but in a workspace-based cabinet, you could put the document back into the workspace you generated the document out of. Okay, so I could actually go, and let's just do this. Let me see if I can show this real quick. And then, Mariana, I'm going to answer your question. I can answer your question. I'm really happy about that because, again, this isn't my expertise like NetDocs is, PatternBuilder. But let me come over here to the clients demo. So we have, let me do this, in clients demo. So if we come over here to the applications, if we generated something out of here, okay, out of this actual matter, okay, then we can come in and it'll program it to save it back in to that matter itself, okay? So that's the advantage of doing the workspace thing. Now, to answer the questions that are coming in here, let me come back over. So the question is, can we create a different cabinet for PatternBuilder? The way you do it is you create these documents and then you assign which cabinet you want to generate them. With HotDocs, we can take an answer file and create a spreadsheet. Can I do that with PatternBuilder? So let me explain what that question is. And I do know this because I used to do HotDocs. So I worked with this great estate planning attorney in New Orleans, Todd Villarubia. He became a good friend of mine because we spent so much time together. And we were building, and he did high-end estates. So wills, trusts, succession planning, he was doing all of that. Once we had the intake form, like we did the questionnaire, we didn't want to do it to generate all of those documents. So HotDocs had something called an answer file where you could just save that information and regurgitate it over and over again. NetDocs has built something called data tables. Okay, data tables are the answer to HotDocs answer files. So a data table is a place here, and we're going to see an example where I can create an intake. We'll create the questionnaire. As we've been using the questionnaire, we'll save all the information in here, okay? And that way, when I'm generating documents, I can just pull it out of these tables. So yes, there is a HotDocs-like answer file. When you fill out the questionnaire, you can save the information to the table. Also, notice this right here, upload table. So I'll use Clio as an example. Let's say you have a prospect or a matter in Clio. It is very, very easy to dump that out into an Excel file and then upload it here. And then you could start generating documents out of it. So the data tables are a part of PatternBuilder where we can save data and really just reuse it all the time. Other question is about creating templates and those being time consuming. And it really depends on the templates. Send me an email or give me a call about that question. I can see what we can help you out there. NetDocs is putting a massive amount of resources into PatternBuilder and PatternBuilder Max. So we've seen a lot of improvements throughout the weeks, days, and months on doing that. And again, in my mind, it really depends on how complex your templates are. Do you need to hire a consultant like me to create those templates? By the way, it ain't me you're hiring, because our company does not at this time do pattern builder creation. We have a couple of good partners that we will recommend. If you come to me and say, Craig, I need you to create these 50 documents and templates, there's no money coming to me for that. I'm just going to say, this is the company you should call up. They're very good at it, and you need to hire them. Because this is really, and I think maybe at one point we might get back into that business. We've been in that business before, but right now we're really focused on just the document, supporting NetDocs and the document generation and things like that. So coming over here, let me come back to the apps. And I want to actually, we're going to come over to the full implementation. So let's come over here to edit. Now, what I am going to do is drop this out. I'm going to deactivate it right now because I can mess around with this. And so I want you to see the template here, what it looks like. Because I showed you the template of the Word document, and I showed you the template for Hot Docs and for Express Docs. This is what the actual Pattern Builder template looks like. So I just find it's a lot easier to deal with. So clients, company name, today's date, and then these are just the variables here that we created with that question and answer file, and then just dropped them in here. So this is just, to me, is a lot cleaner than compared to that Hot Docs, initial user training. Pattern Builder is sold as a low-code solution, and I think it kind of lives up to that as someone who used to program Hot Docs. I think it's so much easier. The other thing, so you're seeing all that information that is either comes in or is removed based off of the questions that you answer. The other thing I'm going to point out, and the way that you can customize your documents, is see this right here, this little NetDocs thing. This is the actual Pattern Builder plugin into Word. Of course, got to log in here. So this allows you basically to take a document that you already have, create the variables, and then plug it in there. So there's an actual, for Word, there's a program. Now, the most of the documents that we're seeing our customers create are either Word or PDF documents there. So, and then we're going to come over here to templates, and then create new text variables. So we can create a variable, we can insert variables, we can pull up variables. See, these are all the variables that we created when we created the intake. And then I could just come over and insert them into the document just like that. That's how easy it is. So what I did to create this is I took a proposal that we created, backed out client company name, and then just come over here and chose client company name. And that's what you see right here. That's what it fills in there. So hopefully, like I said, this was never going to last the full hour. Completely open it up to questions now. Any questions that you have. And if you want to raise your hand, I can unmute you or just ask there. Having done this so many times, having done it from the Hot Docs, you have to figure out, do I have documents that can be automated? And then if I do, I would recommend getting a Pattern Builder demo. All right. And then decide if you want to do it. And then at that point, you're going to get some training from NetDocs. Do you have someone at your office that can take control of it? Or do you need to hire a consultant to do that? Zach, I'm going to go to you. you raised your hand, so I'm allowing you to talk right now. You just got to unmute yourself.
Thanks, Craig. Yeah, I just had a quick question about who's able to like upload those tables that you were showing earlier, like the metadata about a case. Is that
Yeah,
something that only an admin can do, or can any user upload that information?
you get, so this is just going to be like all of NetDocs itself. You get to choose who can do that. So you get to
Ah,
choose who has that capability. If you just want it to be the admins, or you can create groups, who can create these, who can go in and do that. It's all up to you. So yeah, it's just this is where we're taking the advantage of the whole NetDocs security to allow that to happen. All right, any other questions? Let me just see here while I'm waiting if there's any other questions. Um, Let me come back to activate. Yeah, Zach, you can still unmute and just ask another one.
sure. Yeah, I just wanted to know because you were showing the sorry, what's it called? Sort of the back end coding
Yes.
on some of the other software, or for like some of the other software's competitors. Did you show us a copy of one of the templates coded for Pattern Builder?
Yeah, that's the one that, yeah, that is the last one that we went into.
Oh, sorry, I
Which
think
is,
I just
yeah,
missed it a little.
yeah, this is it right here. So this is where I said it to me, this looks, so we showed you hot docs and express docs, which is what I used to do. But this is, how I generated that document. So we asked you, what is your full name? Zachary Mead, and then I would be, that's what's your last name? Client last name is Mead. That's where it gets filled in there. So here I'm in Word right now. Here are all the variables I created for this document. And then I can just pull them over into here. Same thing with is conversion true? Well, that's a statement, but it's a lot easier if you did hot docs coding, which I did a ton of. This is a lot easier than hot docs coding. Like, is collab spaces true? If that's true, then we're going to put in something there. We can actually see the statement here, collab space setup, and then it just puts in that phrase right there. So that's just this right here. It's just, doesn't this look a little better than the other ones that we went over? It's just not as complicated to actually generate stuff in there.
Totally, yeah. Thank you for showing that again.
Other thing that I just think is using deliver secured link, you can send one of these questionnaires to a client to fill out. So then they'll get the questionnaire just like we did via secured link. They'll fill it out and it will save the document back into your NetDocs. And you can set it up to give you an alert like that too. Any other questions? All right. I appreciate everyone's patience with me today. Again, like I said, this is something that I'm kind of familiar with, but it's not like NetDocs where I just do it every day. This is a great product. We use it, but you have to really want to automate. You have to have forms that you can automate, and then it's pretty easy to set them up. So if you have any questions, if you need some help setting up Pattern Builder, if you have it, I know that was some of the questions there. Some more complex things, then we can definitely look at looking for someone to help you with that, or I can see if I know the answer to it. And if you're interested in getting a demo of Pattern Builder, let me know. All right, everyone have a great day. Oh, the question. So we did get a question here on the economics of it. Again, figure out first. The first way to answer that question is that, like, how much pay for it is figure out how much you're going to be paying NetDocs. Okay. Um, for me, you know, we are not a law firm, but I've got 15 documents that we generate all the time, and now that they're just repetitive, there's no mistakes in them, especially for proposals like that. I feel it's very economical, but that just depends on how many documents you have. First, find out how much Pattern Builder is going to cost, because that'll be the biggest expense. Everything else will be kind of negligible to that. All right. I'll talk to everyone later.